3 minutes past 2 from the studios of Adaba FM. Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of Conversation with Adaba FM. My name is Dimitri Daniels and I've been joined on the program today by Chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, a former governorship aspirant in Ekiti State, Chief Ranti Adebisi. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you.
So today on Conversation with Adaba FM, we'll be looking at different development within the polity. This afternoon we start from the uproar that the choice of APC presidential running mate generated in the polity, especially from Can. It got so much of that people who, it appeared as though some people made it look as though it's Muslim versus Christians, Christians versus Muslim. What impact do you think this could have on the polity?
Well,
this trend.
The trend is not a very good one for us. We call ourselves a secular nation, meaning that we should entertain our religion. We have two dominant religions in Nigeria, the Christian religion and the Islamic religion. We are forgetting the traditional religions and the people that don't even believe in anything. I think those people that are shouting Muslim ticket in Nigeria are just being unfair. I'm a Christian myself, I'm a Catholic, but I have never actually dealt with people based on their religion. And I don't think, especially in the southwest region here where I belong, it is not very important to us. We have to be very careful if we don't want to play into the hands of some political actors. And I think that is what is going on in Nigeria today. Some of these Christians, so-called Can, are being sponsored. I could recollect during the tenure of ex-president Goodluck Jonathan, they were having a field day then. And I think they want the same thing to go back. But what can a vice president do? You know, we need to be very sincere with ourselves. Nobody made any noise about Tinubu being the presidential candidate. He's a Muslim. All we were clamoring for was for the president to come from the south. They didn't do anything, they didn't make noise when the PDP picked their presidential candidate from the north. Now, because they're being sponsored by some people, you know, I mean,
you think they are being sponsored?
They're being sponsored. If they're not being sponsored, what's their business with what political parties pick for who they pick for as their candidates? They should go in and register as members of these political parties, and then they will have a voice. If you want to vote for somebody because he's a Christian, you have the opportunity next year to vote. If you want to vote for somebody because he's a Muslim, you have the opportunity. We equally have opportunities as practitioners of these political parties to pick.
Don't you think the uproar is this much because APC is a major political party?
Well, it could be, but PDP is equally a major political party. I will always say there are two strong political parties in Nigeria. We can't be deceiving ourselves. It is only going to be either APC or PDP that is going to...
has opted for a Christian running mate.
A Christian? What can the Christian running mate do? What did Professor Shibajo did? What did he do for the Christian community? While he's the president, he's still the vice president. What effect? We are just being unrealistic, we're being unfair. And the man in question that was picked as the vice presidential candidate in the APC has always been very good and friends to the Christian community in his state. We should start looking at antecedents of these people before we start making noise.
There was a time in Nigeria where Nigerians will not even care.
They don't care.
The type of religion that any presidential candidate or running mate practices. For instance, in 1993, people have often referred to that. I'm sure that Abiola was a Muslim. The running mate Kinjibe is also a Muslim. Now, how do you think we got there? How did we get here, where people seem to place a lot of premium on the kind of religion that people practice now? Is it because Nigerians are more politically enlightened, or there's more to it than we
I wouldn't call that political enlightenment. We're just being lazy. We should be questioning these candidates, what they are bringing to the table. What are you going to do for Nigerians? This is what we should be talking about. You were making reference to a period where you have a lot of patriotic Nigerians. There's no more patriotism in Nigeria today. We have too many fraudulent people in government, in the public service, in the churches, in the mosque. There are too many fraudulent people. And in schools. So it's like we're looking at a downward trend of morals in Nigeria. And I'm hoping that...
What led to that?
A lot of things. Lack of productivity on our part. We are looking for easy money, easy ways. Just like everybody is expecting the government to give them jobs when they leave school. Government cannot be employers of everybody. So we have to look into the private sector, to get things done. And the leadership is, I don't know, in Nigeria today, I would say, I'm not very proud of what we are doing as a nation, because we already got it wrong. And during the time you were talking about, what was our population? Maybe 80 million, 90 million. Now over 200 million. We have a lot of restless youths because
they are not gainfully employed.
They are not gainfully employed. And we are not doing anything to fashion out what is the way out. So is either we are deceiving ourselves, or we have a questionable leadership in this country.
Well, what do you think can be done or should be done to refocus the energy of the young people?
Good leadership, a purposeful leadership, a leadership that cares, a leadership that knows what they want to do. I'm a member of APC. I'm not particularly proud of what the current leadership has been able to do. Yes, they have been able to accomplish some things in the area of infrastructure and this and that, but we have some jobless people in Aso Villa who are not helping the president. People talk about age.
Jobless because they don't have any job.
Because they don't have.
Because they are not doing their job.
Most of them don't have jobs to do. A lot of them equally don't. They're not doing their job. We have, I think, the type of government we have in Nigeria. We have what you call over-bloated. It's just, we need to be ostentatious in a way, in our way of life, in what we do. Because when some people are hungry and you go out and give another country to fight banditry, Land Cruiser, Toyota Land Cruiser, do you use Toyota Land Cruiser to fight? Why don't you tell Innocent Motors to build nice pickups, rugged ones for you, and you give it out? You know how much a Land Cruiser cost? Over $100,000. That one could get to like about 10 nice Hilux 4x4 that will be able to run the terrain. So it's like we probably don't get it.
Now, talking about the 2023 elections, how do you think that politicians and probably the media as well can make Nigerians focus on the real issues and not religion or ethnicity?
Well, I will put a lot of this in on the media too. The media should stop dwelling too much on these irrelevant things that don't bring food to our table. Because the media can shape whatever type of campaign. People can talk all they want to talk. If they don't give it substance, then, I think it is the media that has actually blown this
Out of proportion?
out of proportion. And you can't even blame the media, because some of these media too are not under control, like the social media. Nobody's controlling them. You can only make noise about radio stations and newspapers that are known. But the bloggers,
There's no regulation.
no regulation for them. So they are the problem. But they're still part of the media. So if the media do not give it substance, most of those irrelevant things that doesn't help us, the media should help us to be promoting unity, a strong, viral nation. We can move forward. They can help us shape the type of campaign they want in 2023. If we focus on what are the things Mr. Atiku is bringing to the table, what are the things Mr. Tinubu is bringing to the table, what are the things Mr. Obi is bringing to the table, rather than intimidating opponents and trying to say, if you're not obedient, all that is rubbish. Everybody should be able to go around the country and go and be able to campaign.
It's a democracy.
This is democracy, but we should not,
That's what I'm saying. That
yeah,
people should
freely choose. Don't intimidate people and say, if you don't do this, you won't do this. People have a right to pick whoever they want to support. So we are begging the media can help us shape the campaign through jingles and information, not giving substance to irrelevant things that would divide us. And if we do not repeat bad things over the radio, in the print, people will start writing good things. Because once they know that they are not giving them the coverage, So we have to appeal to the politicians too. Just come and tell us what you want to do. We know the state of the economy. We know that students are out of school for 6 months. People are asking, who do you blame? It's not a matter of blaming anybody now. It's about how patriotic are we? Are we really sincere to ourselves? ASU is talking about wanting to get paid for.
We'll get to the issue in a moment. But oftentimes in the build-up to an election, not just even governorship elections, you find the people focused on things that are not important.
Yeah.
The rhetorics. They don't ask the right questions. So oftentimes, you get to see a situation where people don't really know some of these candidates or whoever emerges either as president or as governor because they have failed to ask them the right questions. How can Nigerians learn to ask the right questions in the build-up to election?
Well, like I keep saying, I still go back to the media. Because the media is a very powerful segment of our society. Okay? When you look at most of the people in the media, they read a lot. They understand the outside world. So we can bring all those things. I know we're in a very complex society, because of our diversity. And we should look at how we can use that diversity to develop ourselves and stop rhetorics that are not bringing goodwill to people. So we have to. Do we really want to be one United Nation country? We should ask ourselves. And people should not shy away from, saying, hey, I want Nigeria to be one. I don't want Nigeria to be one. We should be given the opportunity. We have this talk about 1914 amalgamation that was supposed to be for 100 years. Okay, 2014. This is 2022. We should be able to sit down as different nations within Nigeria and ask ourselves, there is no section of this country that cannot stand on its own. We're just being afraid. The northern part, they have the worst part of, the Sahel that are still standing as a nation, as countries there. So the southeast, south, southwest, there's no part of Nigeria that you go to that you will not see the values they bring to the country, Nigeria. So, but the problem is we should allow those values to be brought up. One section of the country should not try to, impose itself on the rest. And that is where you have lack of trust. If we don't trust ourselves, we are going to have problem, and that's why 2023 is very critical. That's why you still hear some people are doubting if we are going to have an election. But we are going to have an election. I know that. But how the election will turn out is another thing. Maybe the election is what is going to define whether we are going to remain as a country.
Talking about the 2023 election, what issues do you think will shape that election, the outcome of that election? What issues would decide the election?
Economy. Okay? If we have, out of all the aspirants, someone that can turn the economy of Nigeria around, the issue of security will come. If you have stable economy, people will not want to go and be robbing people or be destabilizing other people. It's the economy. Students are able to go to the classroom on time. Teachers are being paid on time. Civil servants are being effective, because we fail to mention something in this country that is affecting us: the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy in Nigeria is in a mess. They are the problem. When you're talking about governance, bureaucracy is the problem.
Also,
in the United States, where I lived before, you can go into any government agency, government ministry or parastatals to request for something. You don't need to know anyone.
And they will get it for you.
And they will get it for you. If you're not qualified.
And on time as well.
On time. If you're not qualified, they will write it down for you what you need to get to qualify. And because they will check all your documents, and they will be ticking it 1, 2, 3. Maybe you're supposed to fulfill 5 requirements. If you only have 3, they will tell you, okay, these 2, you don't have it. They will even tell you how you can get the 2 without taking a dime from you, without knowing them. And they will sign it and give you the paper. So when you come back, they know you have fulfilled 3 out of 5. So they will ask for the 2 and check for the other 3 that they have ticked right before.
That means they monitor the paper trail.
They monitor paper trail. But in Nigeria, it's like, don't worry, you don't have this, but if you bring it, 20,000, we'll get it done for you. Part of the corruption. But people are quick to blame the politicians for being corrupt. When they're talking about corruption in Nigeria, they talk about politicians. And I say, no, it is not the politicians. Politicians come and go. 4 years, 8 years, that's a maximum. A politician will come in. When he gets to the office, it's the civil servant that will tell him or her what to do. And God, this is where the money is. And they will tell you, oh, okay, the money has been lying fallow here for the past 10 years. You can spend it. Because I have been a chief executive in the government before. So I know what I'm talking about. Politicians don't sign checks.
Yes, that's true.
It is the civil servants that sign checks. Go to Abuja there. Most of the houses there are owned by who? During the APC National Convention, I was staying in one of the Airbnb apartments in Abuja, and I was asking my host, I said, this building next to us, I said, it looks like it's not habited by people. And the man told me, oh, that building was built by a civil servant, but he's dead now. So some riffraff just moved in there. And he said the investigation showed that his family didn't even know he had that building. Is that not greed?
So nobody to even claim.
Nobody even to even claim. So he said recently it was the municipal government in Abuja that just came and claimed it. So there are so many properties that scattered all over Abuja like that.
Yeah, you see some uncompleted. A lot of people.
In uncompleted buildings in Abuja.
Yes,
yeah.
That's true.
So a lot of times when we start saying politician, it's very easy. It's very easy for us to put blame on some people. But why the so-called developed countries? Why are they called developed? Because their bureaucracy is the bureaucracy is the one that runs the government there. Politicians just come with their policies and go implement whatever and go. Another one will come. But there are certain things that you cannot change that makes the country what it is. So those are the things we need to look into in Nigeria. Those are the things, and that is why we need to look at the antecedents of the people that wants to lead us. It's not just by talking. We need to look at, ask people, what have you done? When you were in charge of this and that, what did you do?
Talking about the candidates. Now, Tinubu is the candidate of the APC. That's the party in the saddle now. There are people who believe that the APC has not delivered on its campaign promises. And Tinubu is an important member of the APC. In fact, there are people believe that he helped midwife the Muhammadu Buhari administration.
That's true.
Can Tinubu be absorbed of whatever failures that people ascribe to the APC?
Definitely. Tinubu was never in government. Tinubu is a leader in the party. Tinubu was never part of the Asura cabal. As a matter of fact, at the time, Tinubu was a person non grata in the villa. Immediately, Muhammad Buhari became the president. The government belongs to him. We members of APC will defend the government, but at the same token, there are certain policies that are put together by the government, not the party. So it is the president that appointed the ministers, not the party. It is the president that appointed the head of the agencies. It is the president that appoints the chief of staff, the inspector general of police. They didn't security chief. They didn't bring them to APC meeting. So, in most cases, I would say he can absorb himself 80%.
Because what I'm asking you that is that I've interacted with people who say that Tinubu wants to be president.
Yeah.
That he helped midwife a government that they believe has failed Nigeria.
Well, did PDP, didn't they fail Nigeria? What are they talking about? What has changed in PDP?
But they will say it was better during their own time. For
It
instance,
was better because
prices of goods and services. For instance, I've had PDP members mention the cost of a bag of rice repeatedly. That it was 7.5 during their own time. Now it's around 35,000.
that's true, because they're looking at the economy in a very myopic way.
Okay.
It has to be global. What is happening in Nigeria is happening, especially in oil producing nations. Go to Venezuela. When Venezuela used to be one of the largest producer of oil, look at the economy is in shambles because of bad leadership. So we have to, unless we are just being economy with the truth, we need to be very careful how we assess people who wants to lead us. What are they bringing to the table? A friend of mine always say, we elected General Muhammadu Buhari, okay, to be president, and we have President Muhammadu Buhari as president. General Buhari is different from President Buhari. Okay? What do you mean by that? A General Buhari will rule by fiat.
You can't do that now.
He can, as a president now, he can't do that. But when they were voting for General Buhari,
Thinking that
you'll be able to, you know, not factoring that
it's a
there's
democracy.
legislative,
There are laws now.
there are laws. So I'm not holding brief for Tinubu, but when I look at what the man has done, what he did in Lagos, come on, show me any of those presidential aspirants that has given us what Tinubu has given Lagos. Obi was a governor for 8 years, just like Tinubu. What are the impacts that Obi made in Anambra? Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was a vice president who was in charge of the economy. Okay? As a matter of fact, he presided over the sale of a lot of assets.
Public assets.
Things that were put together for like about maybe 3-point-something billion and sold for 100-and-something million naira dollars. It's ridiculous. When you put something together, it's supposed to have more value. These things were sold to their cronies. They made money. Those are records. Those are things that these people can use to campaign against each other. You know, hey, like I said, I'm not holding brief for Tinubu, but that's my next president.
Talking about, you just mentioned Obi now. There is growing movement. They call it as Obidients.
Yes.
That's another political movement in the mix.
Yeah.
What's your read of this movement led by Peter Obi?
Well, just as we see those things on the social media, the bloggers bringing out these obedience stuff, and I think Femi Kuti said something about obedience, and people said they want to burn down the shrine.
He said he's not obedient.
Yeah, he said he's not obedient. He said he will never be obedient. He said because being obedient means you are a zombie.
Like Fela's song.
That's Fela's song. Okay? So when you say somebody is obedient, it means he cannot think on his own. He has to do what his master says.
He's servant.
Exactly. So, and I've seen a lot of people talk about if they see that you are not in support of the obedience, they get violent. Do we really need that? We don't. Obi has a track record which he should defend. I've seen a lot of write-ups from certain people that claim that when he was governor, he saw something that he could have done and prevented in Anambra, the burning down of the markets owned by the Northerners and the Yorubas. He didn't do anything. He didn't even compensate them. I was reading all those things and I'm waiting to see how he can defend that kind of thing. So we have to be very careful when, somebody was telling me, say, okay, we have 3 strong notable presidential candidates. One from the southeast, one from the southwest, and one from the north. Okay? So, he said maybe people in the north will go for the for the one from the north, and I'm like, it might not work that way. That Nigeria, it's a little bit too sophisticated for that.
Yes.
For that. So, but what we should be demanding from these people, these candidates, and the ones that we have not had them because they are not from big political parties, is that what are your plans? What do you think you can do to change our situation in Nigeria? God has blessed us with immeasurable, natural resources. But we have not been blessed with a hands-on leader that can put round pegs in round holes. People who can, it's not about that person that wants to be the president alone. It's about its ability to put good people. It's about his ability to be able to
place a competent
team. And that is what Nigeria needs. And we Nigerians too, we need to ask ourselves, what are we bringing to the table? Are we constantly waiting for the government to come and do it for us? Government cannot do everything. I don't read Bible that much, but they say heaven helps those who help themselves. We need to help ourselves. And we can challenge the government to give us good leadership if we ourselves are doing things. On environmental days, what do we do in our various homes and neighborhoods? Are we cleaning or we are watching TV at home? Okay? Are we helping our fellow neighbors to help clean if maybe they don't have men in their home? Are we going there to help them clean their... this is what I've noticed people do in America. They help themselves. Why can't we? We call ourselves a very religious country.
Are we?
Yeah?
Are we actually religious?
Well, I don't know. We make noise that we are religious. I mean, in 1992, 93, you were talking about how many churches do we have? And see how many churches we have today. 20 years after, the number of churches has been multiplied by 100, not quadrupled now, but more than 100. There is no neighborhood you walk into that you don't see a church now. Does that help us? No. So we need to start looking at how we can help ourselves and play politics without bitterness. Nigeria is the only place where I see people lose elections and they keep fighting on for the next 3-4 years because they don't trust themselves.
All right, talking about the in the last election in 2019 and then 2015, PDP and APC were the dominant political parties.
Yeah, they're still.
But then 2023, in the build up to the 2023 elections, we are seeing the Obidients movement, and it seems to be growing, especially among young people, who are mostly on social media. What do you think is responsible for the growth of of that group, of the Obidient group?
Yeah. When you talk about those two dominant parties, okay, I will say there was one dominant party pre-2015, PDP. When ABC became dominant again, was because a lot of people in PDP came to APC.
Still the same people.
Still the same people. Obi was on the ballot with Atiku.
He was in Abga, then he came to PDP.
Came to PDP.
Nine Labour Party.
Okay, so what's the difference? You see, when you talk about the young people that are growing in obedience, some of them they're not well informed and out of frustration.
They just want something new.
Yeah, they just need
something that works.
Yeah. And I feel for the young generation today because they're not seeing the type of leadership they think they should get. But even with that, we have to be very careful. Even the young people, some of them are in obedience and they don't even know why they're there. And you ask them, and they have no answers. Look at what happened when these young men and women started the NSAS. But towards the end, it was hijacked from them by disgruntled people. The focus of that NSAS ended up, that okay, now we are going to destroy certain people. We are going to destroy their businesses. Was that part of NSAS? No. And that's what we constantly do in Nigeria. We take advantage of people. So people now, Obi is taking advantage of the frustrated young people because he is part of the problem.
He's helping them feel that narrative.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
That narrative
of Nigeria is not working. Okay? And when you look at the undertone, I'm sorry to say, I'm bold to say, there's always this so-called Biafra agenda underneath. Why some people are following them blindly. They don't even know why they are following them. They just know that, oh yeah, this man can talk very well. Just like one man that I saw on the social media from the Southeast said, well, Obi is a banker that is a smooth talker. Okay? I mean, until I see every one of them going to every nooks and corners of Nigeria to go and campaign, don't just stay within your comfort zone and be making noise. People don't vote on social media. You have to go to the polling units to go and vote. A lot of these young men that are making noise obedient, look for them on election day and see if they will vote. And that's the problem Nigeria has.
Now, a lot of traditional politicians like yourself, when I say traditional politicians, I say those who really play politics. You understand what I mean by that?
All right.
A lot of them, I've listened to a lot of them dismiss Obi as a paperweight. In fact, there was an interview that I saw where Festus Keyamo called him a carpetbagger. That was the word he used. That it was that Obi is just making a lot of noise, and that the noise will not amount to too much in the 2023 election. Do you also see it that way?
Well, to some extent.
Okay.
To some extent.
Or you think it's a growing movement that could shock a lot of people in 2023?
It's a growing movement, but it's not going to shock too many people. Because there's not going to be any surprise.
Okay.
It's still going to be between the PDP and the APC. Let's be realistic. Can Obi take his campaign to the northern part?
He has a northern running mate.
Yes, he has a northern running mate, another elitist running mate from the north. See, we know ourselves politically, and we know the way we Nigerians, the way we think. When you look at an average voter in the north compared to an average voter in the south, In the north, they are more dedicated. They are more determined to vote. Okay, they will look at their leaders, whatever their leaders tell them to do. It is in the south that we say, hey, who is the leader? I have no leader. That's what we say in the south. But drop some things for them, you know that they have leaders. They change their tone. So it's who is deceiving who? Obi still doesn't have that structure. About how many polling units do you have in Nigeria? About 180,000 or more than that? I'm not even sure. Okay? So where we reach is obedient people. Most of these young people, here you can see them in the urban areas. But go to the villages, the rural areas. They are not obedient there. The obedient people are in the urban areas, not in Kano, not in Kaduna, but maybe Lagos, Enugu. Yes. Phew! I don't know how many obedient people are in Akure here.
You never can tell.
In Ekiti.
You never can tell.
In Ekiti, where I come from, we are more of traditional politicians and traditional voters. You can't rock the boat. You either go left or you go right in Ekiti. And with our incoming governor, who has been able to reach out to all the people that matters in Ekiti, I think we are getting it right gradually.
Okay. Time is 50 minutes before 3 from the studios of Adaba 8.9 FM. It's conversation with Adaba FM, and I'll be speaking with Chief Ranti Adebisi, APC chieftain. Now let's talk about ASU. You mentioned that earlier. I said we're going to get there. ASU is insisting that it must get salaries for the month that it did not work. Section 43 of the Trade Dispute Act says that when a worker goes on strike, especially those on essential services, the employer can also refuse to pay for those months.
Okay.
So, what do you think? How do you see this demand by ASU to get money for the months that are on strike?
Well, at least Buhari woke up and invoked that, and said, I'm not paying them. You know why he said he's not? I don't think he even went into the act before he said that. He said, okay, after they have been okay with all the other arrangements, the only one that they are holding on to that will make them go back is for them to be paid for the months that
they did not work.
What happened to those students who are out for 6 months plus now? Most of those young men and women, they pay for their apartment and hostels. Nobody's going to refund them their money.
That's more money the parents would have to pay.
Yeah, that's more money.
Because they will spend more time.
They will spend more time, they will have to pay. So now it is convenient for ASU to say, oh, once you pay us, everything will be all right.
I was sorry to cut in. I was telling somebody this morning. Part of the claim by ASU is that they could cover her for those months. And I said, what about people who secured admission outside of Nigeria and they needed their transcripts?
Okay.
What about those people who got a job outside of Nigeria and they needed original certificate or original copy of the certificate and they lost the job? Who makes up for that?
You see, I think for a serious government, we have to put our foot on the ground. Yes, there are certain things the government has failed to do, but the welfare of the people should come first. If the government agrees that, okay, we'll pay the 6 months, who's going to help the students pay We don't even have grants in this country that we give to students.
Student, no.
Okay? So what happened? It comes down to the parents who have to pay, the accommodation twice. We are forgetting the fact that some of these students, they have lost their lives.
Yes.
During this period. Some of them will never go back to school again. Some will never go back to school again. So it is, I think, it portrays the kind of people that we are in this country. That it's all about us. I said it's all about me, and not about, what are we going to do that will make this country great. I even read that ASU was saying that the period lost 21-22 session, 221/222 sessions, if the government didn't pay them, then they are going to go and start in 22-23 session. What kind of logic is that? You were teaching me something, and out of 12 weeks, you stop at the 6th week or 8th week. You now said, that's it, you are going to start the next level without completing that. What kind of graduate are you going to produce? These are some of the things. You look at our universities. What kind of research are they doing? I don't know if you know about state of California in the US. One of the largest economy there. As a matter of fact, when you group state by state, state of California has the largest economy in the US. Do you know how they developed to that level? Stanford University. Everything done in state of California was developed for them by Stanford University. The research, how they become the greatest entertainment center in the world, how they become the best technology center in the world. The Silicon Valley was built by Stanford University. Professors, lecturers from that school. That was, and that's where you have the highest number of millionaires in the world. Product of Stanford University. Why can't we have a university, and we have schools in Nigeria that could have done that for us? Great Ifes, the UI, Unilag, Ahmadu Bello, all those are great universities. Now we have all kind of, I live in Akure here. Why can't FUTA has produced one of the best students? Why can't we have incubation centers there that we can say, okay, this is what it can do for us? The business community. These are some of the things that universities should be doing. Not just waiting for government to do everything.
What advice? Because every other year, ASU goes on strike.
Yeah.
This latest one, this current one, is 188 days today that they've been on strike. In fact, there was a particular year that ASU was on strike for 270 days out of 365 days. What advice would you give to government? We heard that government is considering proscribing ASU. Would you subscribe to that?
I'll subscribe to that, because the learning environment is not meant for unionism. Shouldn't. People are supposed to come into these schools, get their education. Teachers get paid, professors get paid. When you go inside FUTA there, you see a lot of intervention buildings there. Is that not by the government? I just saw a few ones put there by corporate bodies. We should go more for the corporate bodies. Most of the people that left these schools, they are chairmen, the chief executives of companies today. What are they giving back? everything should not be left to government alone. And the situation where you have proliferation of private institutions in Nigeria that are not giving us the best. I mean, I was listening to the ASU president talking about people getting admission with scores of 120 in universities or 180, I don't know what that is, you know. So there are things, it's easier for them to condemn the ones in the private sector, but they're not looking at themselves too. So until we become very sincere with ourselves, I would just ask the government to prescribe any unionism in the university, in the learning of citizens. We shouldn't even be playing politics in the learning environment. There are no unions in those American universities. You go there, I mean, I look at our schools here. How many of them has developed endowment funds? They don't need to wait for government. They need to reach out to, as I am here, the school where I graduated from in New York, as an alumni, we still contribute little, no matter how small it is. At least in a year, I will contribute maybe $200, $300, depends on what I have. That's, how many of that is going on in Nigeria? And where you have an alumni that becomes the Dangotes of this world, oh yeah, boom, he gives them billions. That's what they should be looking for, rather than be harassing. I call them harassing the government for no reason. The economy is bad. Tell me, if they pay them, another group of people will now come and say, oh, you should pay us too. And it becomes a vicious cycle.
Then we're back to square one.
We're back to square one. So we need to be sincere with ourselves. And that's why I say government needs to be very proactive. The Minister of Education has not been proactive the way he should be. As a matter of fact, I even heard that he was too soft on the union because he was one of them. He was a member of ASU before he became minister. The allegiance should be to the government. And the government translate the people of Nigeria.
All right, Chief Ranti Adebisi, our time is fast spent. Let me quickly ask you, Oyebanji will be sworn in October.
By the grace of God.
What should the people look forward to?
Well, we should look forward to a young man.
Because I've heard him say that some people feel that he will not do enough, is that he will shock them. So
I think he will do well because he knows the system. And as a system person, he's a very disciplined young man. And people will be shocked what he will do. And we want him to shock our people. To kind of put to shame the naysayers. I have a very high hope for him. I have a very high hope for him because the people have been looking for a local person. Now they got it. Let's see how we are going to manage him.
All right, thank you very much, Chief Ranti Adebisi, APC Chieftain. Thank you for coming on to this edition of Conversation with Adaba FM. My name is Major Daniels, and this is where we end it today. Thank you for listening.